It is 26 degrees centigrade here in Abuja. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Sunrise Daily today.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf.
Well, he's Chamberlain. I'm Ayo Makinde. Good morning and welcome to the program. Today is the 17th of May. Welcome to the show.
Okay, well, it's Friday, and Friday appears to have started early for a number of people. So, yeah, so there you go. It's lovely scenery, so you might as well just relax yourself as you decide to go out there and have a good one today.
You know, Chamberlain, one of the things I really love about traveling to, say, Kaduna or Jos, if you're going through Abuja, and you're about to enter Nasarawa, these hills are the sights that greet you just on your way out of Abuja. And you cannot just but marvel at just how high up they are. Hikers can only get as close to admire it. I don't think anyone has ever hiked. It was quite a challenge, though, and I think maybe one worth trying. I think we'll see some hikers on this trail, but it is really quite a sight to behold. They are right in your face. You cannot ignore them, even if you wanted to. And right now, we're showing you what they look like in all their rainy season glory. So you see the wet rains or dews just right on their body. The valleys are also put into good use. You can see just how rich and how beautiful the vegetation at the bottom of the hills are. And a lot of people, a lot of the locals around the area do make very good use of the rich soil at the bottom of those hills. I don't know, when you hear those biblical references to hills and valleys and how, the valleys are running fat with fatness or something that you immediately can see it when you're passing through these areas. Quite a sight to behold, and certainly something to do for the weekend if you want a little more activity. Ayo.
Just in case you're wondering whether it was something, a place a human being could go, you can see human beings there right now, right? It's, honestly, again, forgive me guys, I can't, but I mean, look at the sight. Look at the sight and the height of the drone just to show you this. Again, forgive me guys, I see a movie. I mean, something, an adventure series kind of thing. I'm wondering when someone is going to come up with a Shango series, using one of those epic movies. I don't know. But forgive me, but this is what I see. Tremendous opportunities and potential that we have if we would only be able to put ourselves together enough. And yes, I know, Maupe and Chamberlain, you're going to call out the Ministry of Tourism, federal or state, or even if it's the FCT, Ministry of Tourism, something that we should be looking at. This is Channels Television bringing you this every morning, just so you know what we have in our nation. This is just somewhere neighboring Nasarawa State, as you have heard Maupe say. I'm wondering what else we have in different parts of Nigeria. We'll bring them to you in due time. But this is lovely. Well done, guys.
Whoa. Did she say it's in Nasarawa State?
No, I said if you're entering Nasarawa. Sometimes, the lines are a bit blurry, to be very honest. When you're going from, and to think that the communities in Karu, just morph somewhat into the areas of Maraba, Yanya, etc. But I think this Karu is actually right within the Federal Capital Territory, Ayo.
But you know what, I'm going to disappoint them today. I'm not calling out anybody. They should do what they want to do. So it's up to them. I'm not the one appointed as the Minister of Environment.
Environment, tourism,
so, it's up to them.
Arts and culture.
We've shown the way, so they should know what to do moving forward. So let's go ahead. Ayo, you go ahead. Take us through the dailies this morning.
We start with the Nigerian Tribune this morning, which leads with NLC TUC kick against FG's plan to use pension fund for infrastructure. Alleges FG already accessed 70% of fund. FG has no plan to illegally access pension fund. That's according to the finance minister. Stories on page 5, but wonder what it means? New Telegraph has the same story this morning, and it leads with Labour to FG. Workers apprehensive. Pension funds, retirement security, and the writer says not meant for government projects. Alarmed that government accessed nearly 70% of funds without consulting stakeholders. Check the details of that on page 2 of the New Telegraph this morning, and right under that picture on the front page. Suspend new electricity tariff. Senate tells NERC. The details of that on the inside pages. Vanguard newspaper this morning has this one. Electricity. Most discos are technically insolvent, NERC declares. And there are some quotes right there on the front page from John Mahama, Bath Naji, and engineer Sanusi Garba. Check the details. Continue on the inside pages. But the writer says, unveils plan to liquidate Genco's gas suppliers' debts as AFDB plans $1 billion support for power sector. How Nigeria can overcome energy crisis. That's from Mahama Naji Obe Kwankwaso. Details on page 5 of the paper this morning. And look at the front page of the Daily Times newspaper this morning. ASU threatens to down tools over withheld salaries. Says if FG can award road contracts for trillions, billions for varsity workers should not be a problem. That story you'll find details of on page 4. The Guardian newspaper leads with legacy of waste. Abandoned project dots Southwest amid push for scarce resources to new ones. Are these new ones or old ones? Well, check the details on pages 4 and 5. It's the big story of the Guardian newspaper this morning. And look at that story in red. Rising cost of drugs worsens steep rise in hypertension cases. Check the details of all of that on the inside pages of the paper. The Blueprint newspaper. Nigerian national Buzu wanted over Zamfara killings. That's according to DHQ. Find what that means on the inside pages. Troops neutralized 127 terrorists. Gunmen kidnapped 135, killed 3 in Gora and Namaye. Find the details of that on the inside pages of the paper this morning. The Daily Independent leads with this one. Banks can demand social media handles of customers. Court rules. Well, the details of that you check on the inside pages. Electricity tariff, that's right under that picture. Senate steps down committee's investigative report indicting FG. Report asks NERC to suspend tariff review on different bans. Details on the inside pages. Daily Trust newspaper has this one. Insecurity. Food production declines as commercial farms close. Gosh. Well, the writers give you an inkling. We're seriously affected. Farmers Union. Production cost also a factor. We're saying that agro rangers would soon be deployed, according to the federal government. Details continue on the inside pages of the paper today. Nigeria News Direct leads with this one. Account enrollment. Court validates CBN's regulation. Permits collection of customers' social media handles. Find the details on the inside pages. Dismisses concerns. Says social media handles not protected by privacy rights. Financial institutions clear to collect social media handles for KYC. Business Day. Resource-backed loans threaten Nigeria's oil economy. Well, the story is right there on the front page. You'll find the details, the rest of it, on the inside pages. Leadership Friday has this one. APC chairmanship. Search for Ganduje's replacement begins. The story is on page 7. North Central governors working to get competent hand. CPC camp likely to get slots. Presidency's silence worsens embattled chairman's travails. Well, the details of that you find on the inside pages. And right beside that picture of the president in a handshake with the president of Senegal, a salary arrest. ASU threatens no pay, no work. Details on the inside pages. Those are the papers we have for you today, which is your own special take.
You know, there's just so many things on the front pages this morning. So sometimes you just have to laugh and see how you could just relax yourself and not put yourself under immense pressure or stress, as it were. For instance, you know, you'll always get a lot of reactions about social media, what they want to do with it is government trying to get our people through the back door. But that's part of what we're going to talk about much later today on the program. The KYC component of social media, meaning what? At the end of the day, if you get to the banks, they have to request, you have to probably fill forms and put all your social media handles right there. What if someone says, well, I don't have?
You don't have. As long as you don't have, that should be fine. I don't think you should.
What if you use pseudonyms?
It's okay. It's your pseudonym.
What if they close your account? Say, well, you didn't give us the truth. We found out that you had one and you lied to us. Well, would that be tantamount to perjury?
It's unclear if that's because oftentimes even when you fill a form in the bank, it's not all of the slots that are compulsory. Sometimes because some people saw it and they were. I don't remember any bank that a new requirement.
It's going to be eventually if all of this multi-sorted. It came out at the time. There was a lot of hoopla about it, and so I guess we'll wait and see. But Daily Trust just highlighted this equally, hugely important part of our narrative of our life, insecurity, how food production is declining as commercial farms close. And it's not the first time this kind of report is making the front page, because the last government, when this challenge was rife, there were several farmers. I mean, we've had people who come here and told us, most recently, as a matter of fact, that the attacks going on, trying to remember the Mangulo government area now in Plateau State. I'm trying to remember where this Irish potato is rife. And then we may likely also get an impact of that, because whatever else you get of that particular product might be minimal. It won't be as much. And so if you don't have a lot of supply, of course, the implications on pricing and things like that. So some, it may be off the staple for a lot of people. And so, but this one right here, it's a direct feedback and test of whatever strategy that government say they're putting in place to ensure security is history, because in time, we might get to feel this harder than we are now. As though food inflation is not a thing.
Food inflation certainly is a thing. It cannot be ignored. Don't forget that the last inflation figures, we saw inflation climbing high on the back of rising food prices. But we also saw some qualification of that. Some said it was imported food. The question is, why are we importing food? And why is it having such a huge effect if it's just a small quantity? It means that we're not producing enough for us to, be self-sufficient, and that's the reason why we have to import. And the more reason why we might need to import is because of things like this. When commercial farms are closing as a result of insecurity. Let's not forget the recent complaint by the MD of Okomu Oil, which is a plantation that produces palm oil locally, and sometimes maybe they also have for export. But it doesn't seem like we produce enough here. Yes, they make some money, it is true, but they also pay taxes. And one of the things that they ought to be guaranteed when they pay taxes is, security. So I'm hoping that the federal government will pay a huge attention, not some lip service attention, huge attention to food production, especially in this season that we're entering. Farmers would have planted, they need to tend to their crops, and they need to ensure that they're not held to ransom, that they have to pay taxes to bandits before they're able to access their farms. That certainly will be unacceptable.
Check this out, guys. What if that somewhere, somehow, some people are targeting our food production, reduce the organic food production to force us to GMO? What if? Who knows? It might be conspiracy to a lot of people, but it might also be an important thing to have a look at, because now the conversation about GMO foods is getting huge. House of Reps the other time.
It started yesterday.
So, meanwhile, it's already here with us anyway, just that they don't label it.
Yes, indeed. Chimling, I think that people should be careful what they start. If that will be, I don't want to believe that, but if that will be something that, maybe an unscrupulous plan that some people have, they should be careful the kind of fires they start. Because even if you buy GMO seeds, you have to find somewhere to plant them, don't you? Will the insecurity stop all of a sudden? Would they be saying, oh, no, this was a GMO food. We cannot attack the farmers that are farming here? That won't make any sense.
If it gains ground to a certain degree, would you be surprised if suddenly the attack stops?
Well,
one does never cease.
One does never cease, but I sincerely hope that, that certainly should not be one of the things that
I think the last government
fire
GMO corn in this country. So, given an inch,
some people take him out. It is true. It is very true. But as I said, nothing will surprise me anymore, to be very honest, Jim, because the kinds of intentions we've seen some people have.
That's the spirit.
The kind of intentions, the kind of wicked intentions we've seen people exhibit. And you have to ask, how devious can another human being get? When you begin to read things like the heart of man is desperately wicked, you have to ask, how devious can people get, the kind of plans that they hatch? But at the same time, I also want to believe that, there's still so much good in the world that, maybe some people, if they do hatch that kind of plan, may be frustrated. Let me go. Become more prayerful now. May that plan be frustrated. Ayo, can I get an amen to that?
And I say an amen. I really do say an amen because, I was reading, I don't know whether reading or listening to someone talking about, was talking about one woman, a scientist, talking about GMO wheat. And said that wheat wasn't always short, that wheat had always been much taller at planting season than human beings, but for some reason, there were genetically modified wheat that now became so short just to mass produce. And, those who are in the space can go into that one. But what piques my interest, guys, this morning is what you have on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, where the Guardian is talking about abandoned projects dotting the landscape, hundreds of them actually, dotting the landscape in the southwest of Nigeria. And I find that curious. Because even when the Guardian puts it as saying that if there was an award for the world's headquarters of abandoned projects, that it will be in Southwest. I don't know whether that is right or wrong. Because as far back as 2016 or thereabout, we understand that the federal government had about 56,000 abandoned projects all across Nigeria. And that is information that came from the Chartered Institute of Project Management, and they put that information out there. 56,000 valued assets, maybe last year or so, at 17 trillion naira. The question you want to ask is, are we unaware, or are we just waiting for Nigerians to forget before we do things about this? 17 trillion naira in abandoned projects? What kind of projects are they? This was a research carried out by the previous administration. As of 2016, that's when that information came out from the Office of the Vice President, which was corroborated. I think even the Vice President's office at the time didn't have the kind of details that the Chartered Institute of Project Management had when they came out with the 56,000 abandoned projects worth 17 trillion naira. Now, what are we going to do about that? Can't we just repossess these things to the OPS and make money out of them or something? I don't know. But letting 17 trillion naira worth of abandoned property all over Nigeria belonging to the federal government go to waste is one thing that I don't think we should tolerate. And do we have abandoned projects by the states? I'm going to let that question hang, Kimberly. Well, those are the papers this morning. We'll take a short break. When we return, it's time to take on the first conversation we have this morning, and we're going to Rivers State. Please join us again.
To thrive in this era of heightened geopolitical risks requires strategic leadership. Thus, to optimize your decision-making quotient and conceptual credentials, Texem invites senior executives to her upcoming program, Strategic Leadership Unleashed, Thriving in an Uncertain Global World. Join world-renowned professors Rodrigo Laline, Paul Griffith, and John Peters in the UK, who will adopt Texem's tested and proven methodology, which makes learning fun while enhancing your leadership prowess. Date 27 to 30 May. Secure your spot and enjoy a 1.8 million naira discount. If you apply before May 10th, don't just navigate uncertainty. Thrive in it. For more information, call +44 7425 883 791 or email exec@texem.co.uk. Texem, insights that inspire, actions that change the world.
With Global, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it, because that tasty grilled chicken is here, and that key ingredient is just in time. Order with Global and we'll deliver in minutes.
The Duchess International Hospital caters to every aspect of the family's health needs. A one-stop shop for maternity and child health services, emergency medicine and critical care, medical and surgical subspecialties, dental and eye care, and a range of other subspecialties and services, all available at a single location right here in the heart of Ikeja. And it really doesn't matter if you're paying out of pocket using your HMO or private insurance. We focus completely on providing that world-class affordable healthcare for all the family at all times.
That you can now print all your essential items for events without even having to leave your home? It's the CastPrint Combo Deal for all events.
Yes!
Weddings, conferences, birthdays, burials, etc. Starting from 495,000 naira only. You get 50 invites, 50 A2 size posters, 50 16-page brochures, 1 large backdrop banner, 1 roll-up banner, 50 jotters with pens, and 50 souvenir carrier bags. Whatever event you're planning, we can adjust to your budget and quantities. Just send your pictures and other information through WhatsApp, and we shall send a design for your approval. Approve your design, and we will produce with super high-quality digital print technology. We can even arrange delivery to your location. Call us now on 0913 156 5016 or 0812-794-9323 or visit our social media pages. CastPrints, digital printing at super speed.
The future belongs to the dreamers, to the doers, to those who are not afraid of the side hustle. It's for those who are ready to turn their passion into something big. And to help keep you revitalized and inspired, Top Tea is with you every step of the way. You are made for more. Find your inspiration. Top Tea, big round bags of flavor.
Welcome back. Yes, indeed. Yeah, we're going to start our conversation with 2 gentlemen. Those you've seen that joining us this morning. Well, here in the studio, Senator Olakanwogu is the former chairman, Senate Committee on Environment. And then we also have Shadrach Fubara, who is a diaspora coordinator, Rivers Team Movement Worldwide. He's also an environmentalist, plays in the oil and gas sector. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for coming on today. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Chamberlain.
Let me start with you. I'm a person about Shadrach Fubara. I mean, when they hear your surname, they expect, okay, we should get some insights from you in terms of probably what you know about what's going on, because we keep reading the government lately talking about liberation, liberation, liberation. So tell us, lots of people don't even know what the bone of contention is in the first instance. What can you tell us about that?
Well, good morning, Chamberlain, Maupe, and Ayo in Lagos. And good morning, Nigerians. On behalf of the good people of Rivers State in diaspora, first, Chamberlain, permit me the opportunity to say a very big thank you to Rivers people for standing by Governor Siminalayi Fubara through the election process. Those of us in the diaspora did reach out to our folks back home and encourage them to support this governor. I know that at that time, a lot of people were skeptical because they considered him a neophyte in the political landscape of Rivers State. Today, we are vindicated by the performance of this governor. We have seen from day one when he got sworn in exactly 1 year this month. In the next couple of days, it will be exactly 1 year in office. We have seen that he came prepared as a governor for Rivers people, and the massive support of the people has made it possible for some of the gains that have been achieved within 1 year. Some will argue that it's too early to judge the life of an administration that has 4 years mandate. But we can see that within 1 year of being elected the governor of Rivers State, His Excellency Sir Siminalayi Fubara has hit the ground running. Chamberlain, you mentioned about what's all the furore about in Rivers State. For us in the diaspora and for majority of Rivers people, it's a little disturbing and worrying because we had expected that whatever it is, whatever differences that exist between the former governor of Rivers State, who himself served meritoriously the good people of Rivers State, we would have expected that he would have allowed, or those forces, whoever the forces are, should have allowed this government and this governor to continue to serve the good people of Rivers State as we have seen. If you ask me what is the bone of contention, I think it's more of personal ego and greed that is at play. Because otherwise, I see no reason why for a group of persons or persons that have served Rivers State and their tenure is over, I see no reason why they should continue to oppress or want to intimidate or want to frustrate the effort of anybody who today is on the seat to serve the good people of Rivers State. So our appeal is that as this government marks 1 year in office, it would be wrong. It would be wrong, yes, to continue to frustrate the effort of this government. This governor and his team should be allowed to work for Rivers people. The interests of Rivers people should be overarching in anything anybody is doing. We all have our personal interests, but we want to appeal to the politicians, to the leaders of Rivers State to rise up to the occasion. Because from what we can see, it is the heart of Rivers people. It is the heart of the state that is being attacked here. So I think that needs to be discouraged as much as possible.
So let me ask Senator Wogu, you heard him there
in
terms of the board of contention. What do you think about that?
Well, first to thank you for having me here, Chamberlain, and I understand someone else is in Lagos, Ayo. Just to thank you for giving me this opportunity. And my brother out there, out of the country, glad to have this conversation with you. First, I think most of what has happened, the challenge is the matter of education. I listened to you speak and you talked about how you mobilize support for Governor Fubara, and then you went on to talk about what the problems are. And you did say that there are issues of maybe greed or whatever. First of all, it's good to let you know, Fubara became governor because at the time of decision-making for the party to field a candidate, the PDP had to sit and decide. The leader of the party in the state at that time, and still is, the minister of FCT, who then was the governor of Rivers State. And what he did was put the leadership of the party together. He gave an opinion, and it was from that opinion the candidacy of Fubra blossomed. When you want to give credit to how this turned out to be, I just thought that you should start rightly with where it started. Essentially, the minister of FCT, then Governor Wike, made the process that brought about the emergence of Fubra. And then when you say the problem that we have today is that of greed and all that, I'm glad you acknowledge the meritorious service of Wike. The goal we had for Rivers, which we still have, is a river state that will be prosperous, that will be developed, a river state that will grow in both infrastructure and the people. And Wike showed that it was possible. In the 8 years of his governance, he brought to light the things we can be. He worked so hard and inspired us that we were proud of him, and he too was proud of us. And our prayer was that Fubra would just continue. If Wike was the person who was alleging our resources, stealing our money, he would not do the things he did. He succeeded. And we said, if we have another 8 years of this, this is where we will be. Unfortunately, this problem started. There's a disagreement that can happen between people. But from that point, conflict merchants came in. I am happy you acknowledge that it was difficult to sell. You said by yourself that people were skeptical about Fubra. People were opposed to Fubra. Wike battled to bring understanding that this man can do this job. You probably, wherever you were, you did your bit. But on the ground, in Rivers State, from campaign venue to campaign venue, across the state, it was Wike that carried the campaigns. And he got Fubra to become governor. If they were allowed, I sincerely believe that they would have resolved their issues. But third parties came in. Conflict merchants, people who had opposed Fubra and said Fubra was not fit to be governor, now took over Fubra.
But what were these issues, though? Was it greed, like you said?
No. The initial problems, to the best of my knowledge, and I speak as somebody who was there, the first issue, there was just a minor issue of, at a campaign, no, not campaign, at a commissioning ceremony in Obiakpo Ilelewan, Fubra was speaking, and he had said how he got, I think, 100 days or so, the very first project. He was explaining to the Ilelewan people that he made them campaign promises. He would do this, he would do that. And that the roads he had come to commission were what he had done, pursuant to his promise that when he was, after his service, he worked and lived somewhere in Ilelewan. He rented the place and lived there. And that this is the promise I made to you people, and this is what I did. And I recall the minister saying to him, we have a way we operate here. While you are the governor and all the glory goes to you, the minority leader of the state, of the House of Reps, is from that community. It is him who came to me and said, please, governor, do this road for my people. And I awarded this job and got it constructed. So in matters like this, while you speak to your promises, find a way to acknowledge the contribution of people like this. That is how they get recognized in their community. Because in truth, it was him who came to me, and I awarded and paid for the job. That was exactly what happened.
So why was that?
Was commissioning it. From that point, things just went downhill. In a way that nobody could understand. Yeah. Communications were...
I don't understand. How did that... Because you say that's part of the problem.
It was practically...
That appears to be simple and straightforward.
I will tell you two things. One, apart from it being the genesis of the problem that I know, as somebody who was there, when the governor, Fubra, went to the president for a resolution, and the president said, okay, go and meet the elders. Let the elders take you to Wike and get this matter resolved. He came to us. We sat, about 15 or 20 of us, elders of the state. We took him and went to Wike and pleaded with Wike that this matter has to end. And Fubra was asked to speak. He said there were no issues. Then Wike in turn said, no, don't say there are no issues. If there are issues, say it so we will know. Because as far as I'm concerned, outside this matter of the commissioning at Obiakpong, all I know was that I supported you from this level to this level to this level, beginning from your career as cashier, to being accountant, to being accountant general, permanent secretary, and governor. And if I had done only that, I'm sure you'll be grateful. Okay. So I do not know why. Also, read the papers, listen to the news. All sorts of allegations are made against me. How did this come up? I never asked you for anything. Yet they are saying I am. Where is it greed? Maybe those are the things you heard. I never asked you for anything, not privately or publicly. I never asked you to make any commitments to me. I supported you. So where is this coming from? Then FUBRA pledged that he will go out and make clear statements so it will end. At that point, we thought it was resolved. We actually sat back, went to the Anambra, the leader's house, had a drink. FUBRA came, we had a drink, we celebrated, we have resolved the issues of it because we couldn't hear anything. Wike was like, tell me what this is about. That's what I said, I will never hear my Oga. What you have done for me, I'll never, that's all we heard. For me, it became a thing where when we meet, all is well. But later you hear people chanting Wike is evil. So I worry that the not knowing some of these things allow you to frame a thought that outside greed, when people talk of greed is like a desire to take more than you deserve. We can't ask nothing of Rivers State.
Okay, let's ask him. Mr. Fubara, are you aware of this account?
Well, thank you, Chamberlain, and thank you, my brother, Senator Olaka Nwogu. I think that this conversation should be focused on the governor's 1-year anniversary. That's my expectation, and I think that's what we should be focusing on. My brother Olaka has said a lot of things. I'm not here to dispute or dispel some of the things he has said or meetings I wasn't privy to and I wasn't there, and I'm not going to speak to things that I'm not aware of. However, let me make a point very clear. You know, with due respect to the former governor of Rivers State, His Excellency Chief Nyesom Wike, he served Rivers State, and we all acknowledge that. He supported this governor to emerge. You know, that does not mean that this governor will be at his whims and caprices. We acknowledge everything that he did for Rivers State, and let it not be lost on anybody how much support we gave to him as the governor. Every part of the state supported him wholeheartedly. From the riverine to the upland, everybody supported him. So on several occasions, he had come out and is on record to have said, you know, when it's your turn, you do for your people or you serve your people. You know, so I see no reason why, after God has used him, God used a lot of people to make him who he is today. Okay? So God having used him to support the emergence of Governor Siminala Ifubara, I think that's a credit that is, you know, goes to him, no doubt. However, this man, as the governor of Rivers State, should be allowed to function. Whatever the issues are, you know, are things that can be resolved. My brother Senator Olaka Nwogu has mentioned political merchants or whoever they are. You know, how far is that from saying people are greedy, or it's greed that is driving these persons? You know, whichever sides of the divide they are, you know, it's all born out of greed. Because if we are putting the collective interest of Rivers State at heart, then our attitude, our way of behavior, politics is over anyway. This is time for governance. So on one hand, you hear surrogates of the former governor making vile threats. A local government chairman will come out publicly and be deriding a sitting governor. Our former governor, Chief Nyesom Wike, would not have taken any of this. As a matter of fact, no local government chairman could have done what some of them are doing today. They deride the sitting governor. I'm sure my brother Olaka Nwogu will not take it from anybody if he was the governor. Okay, so regardless of whatever happened and how this governor emerged, today he's leading Rivers people. He's the governor of the people. Everybody should allow him to govern. When 2027 comes, then we'll go into election or politicking or electioneering, then everybody can, bring up whatever issues they want to bring up. I think that for now, he should be allowed to govern. Everybody should see their sword. My appeal to the former governor is, please, as a leader, as one whom Rivers people supported wholeheartedly and massively during your 8 years administration, and as one whom Providence has blessed immensely. Today, he's the Minister of the Federal Capital by the appointment given to him by the President, or through the appointment given to him by the President. So if there are officials in Abuja who every day they take to the media or take to social media or programs and events, and all they're doing is, abusing him or vituperations on him, how will he feel? Okay, so my appeal again, Chamberlain, is the successes that have been recorded by this governor should not be lost in all of this conversation. In the last 1 year, we have seen, despite all the provocations, despite the abuse, despite the insults on this governor, he has maintained, the peace. He has maintained governance in Rivers State. So I think that's something that we should give him credit for, and call on our leaders, including my brother Olaka Wogu. Whatever side you are, I think the interests of Rivers State should be overarching in whatever we're doing. But despite our political interest, despite who we support, we in diaspora, as Rivers people, we are concerned about what is going on at home. And the fact that our political leaders cannot differentiate between politics or electioneering and governance. It is time for governance. Governor Simenala Ifubara today is the governor. He emerged. The Rivers people are behind him, and so we expect all the political leaders, those who, whatever sides they belong to, everybody should come together and support this governor for one interest, and one common interest should be to everybody, the interest of Rivers people. The interest of Rivers State.
You have said, if I may come in here, Mr. Fubara, that what you're hoping that the conversation will focus on, will be what has been done in the last 1 year. Sadly, it's so sad that we cannot ignore the politics and what has happened, because in the middle of the politics, while infrastructure is also being built, infrastructure is also getting destroyed. A case in point is the Rivers State House of Assembly, which was destroyed in the middle of this fracas. So it's so sad that it cannot be ignored, and in some ways it almost overshadows whatever it is. And it is interesting when Honorable Senator Wogu was talking about the genesis of the crisis. It happened at a 100 days event, where ideally you're supposed to be talking about the project and how perhaps it should be developing or giving more quality of life to the people of that particular area. So it does appear that if issues around governance are not properly managed, they can also affect the politics, which at the end of the day also affect the quality of life. So let me ask you, Senator, you tracing that genesis and looking at all that has happened since that time, that reprimand, I'm looking for a nicer word, the chiding, of the governor as to the history of that particular project. Was it done in public?
No, I was the only one there. And if I may say, Wike was so proud of Fubara. He would defend Fubara to the high heavens. And it was a phone conversation where he was just telling Fubara, this is what I think. Whenever you go to a place, we have people, leaders in those places. How you build them up. And you always say, these are the people that work for your next election. Apart from the fact that they did the last one. These are the people that work your next election. Remember to tell the community their contribution in the things you're doing. That way it keeps these people, because at the end of the day, the governor does not conduct election or in everywhere. It is the people, the structure, the people who are leaders there. They say always highlight the leaders. We will do that. Sometimes we call leaders out. Look at these people. I did this because of this person. He asked me to do that. Even when he came to my local government, he said, because of him, I'll do this for you. I'll do this. That makes the people know that you're talking to the governor to help. It's a way of building your people. And he said, please, when you do that, remember, Fubara was not seen as a politician. People were skeptical. And Wike was determined to prove a point that this man would be a very successful governor.
Well, he has since come out to say that was a mistake. You know, he has since come out to say if you make a mistake, you know, you should be able to own up to it. He's not above mistakes.
You have no idea. I can speak to that.
Can say that?
No, let me just speak to that right now. First of all, we were, if you check the Elders Council when we started, Wike had this strong team, Elders Council, to go everywhere with the entire team. We rode in buses to whatever public function the governor was doing. And after Fubara was selected, so many members of the Elder Councils resigned. They left. They wouldn't work with Wike again because of Fubara. They left. Wike bore it. He was pained, but he was just determined that Fubara will do the job. Then Fubara gets to office. And he's giving advice as somebody who is interested. In fact, the very first flag of Fubara did, he said, with this Liberty will know that this man should do 8 years. He was already fighting for Fubara from day one. But this is how you go about things. The leaders in the local places must be carried along. Then this happened. I will tell my brother who is talking about this quickly. Even you can still play a role. You said you were coordinator of SIN. You were coordinator because Wike brought out Fubara. Then you took the name SIN and became his coordinator. You can play a role. So people can be brought back. The important thing is that you have to understand boundaries. Nobody has interfered with Fubara running government. Wike can give an advice as his benefactor, as his mentor. That's fine.
Yeah, but given all that has happened now, given the threats, because there were no ordinary threats, Senator. The fact that, you know, the State House of Assembly was destroyed in the middle of this. It's still unclear, you know, who did it. We don't know what will come out of the investigations, if any, are going on. We also saw the attempt at reconciliation that has since failed. We've seen members of the cabinet who were reinstated resign once more. Isn't this beyond repair?
No, it speaks to something, and this is it. There is governance and there is structure. You call it electioneering. The structure does the politics. There is governance and there is system. Clearly, the head of government is Fubara. But the structure that works for Fubara to emerge is led by Wike. And at some point, Wike has said, okay, Fubara, do what you want to do. We are giving advice. Maybe you have better ways of doing your thing. Go ahead. All those who are shouting Fubara, let Fubara be. Fubara is not controlled by anybody. You can give him an advice. As a brother, as a son, as anything. You can give, even as a leader, you can give him advice. We can try that, and he stopped. Do your job, but leave the structure alone. What's the structure? The leaders, the party, the things that Wike himself worked so hard to build. Remember, the structure was not in our control. There was a previous governor there, and we fought and took the structure and built it. Wike led it. It's different. You see, in Amechi's time, Amechi was in charge. We came from outside and took over the structure and built. It was a battle and won. And Wike became governor and leader of the structure. In Fubara's case, Wike gave him leadership and was elected governor. Being governor does not automatically make you the head of our structure. And Wike said, leave our structure, because as soon as this started, then people started building alliances. He said, no, we should remain one. If you do not want, leave the structure alone. And right now, mainly the battle has been structure.
You know, Senator,
just
a second, if you can hear me, Senator. Well, Senator, if you can hear me, I think one of the challenges, my apologies for voting, I think one of the challenges that a number of people here, listen, at the end of the day, politics is just a vehicle. You know, it's a job. Politics is like a recruitment system for governance, and that's what this whole thing is about for a lot of people. So let me come back to you, Mr. Fubara in Canada. For you, what exactly do you think is happening here? You've listened to Senator Nwogwu and you've heard everything that he's saying. At the end of the day, a good number of people will not get the benefits of voting for and electing or appointing a governor as their people. So what do you think is happening here in this space of all that is going on with, you know, all these breakbacks that people are getting? What signals are we sending to the people who gave the governor a job?
Well, thank you, Ayo. I'm glad you're mentioning the people, and that's the point I was making earlier. You know, politics is over. What is central? What is the purpose of government in any way? In any case, what's the purpose of government? It's to serve the interests of the people. Right now, the Rivers people are being shortchanged by all of what is going on. This governor is being distracted daily by the political merchants, as my brother Senator Olaka Nwogwu called it. You know,
for you, the question I'm asking, my apologies. For the question I'm asking is, what is the root of all of these, and where do we go from here?
Well, you know, we can try to establish the root as much as we want to. You know, what is at play here is sheer greed, is sheer desperation by a group of people who think that they continue to hold on to the state. That's what is going on here, you know. And then the question of where do we go from here, that's why we are appealing as stakeholders, as leaders of River State. We are appealing to all parties to show their sword and allow the governor focus on governance for the good of the people.
What is also interesting here, Senator, my apologies, just a second. What is interesting here is that it would seem like that for those who have been following the politics of River State, this is not the first time. This is not likely to be the last time. Almost every new governor that comes in has to fight these battles, so to speak. And it is one state. Where do we go? Let me take that question to Senator Nwogwu. It would seem like almost every, I mean, you also said it the other time that when the former governor Wike came into office, he, you know, wrested a particular structure and got it and all of that. So it's natural for people to wonder, how come this happens all the time? Whenever there is a governor, you know, in office, there has to be this breakback, there has to be this contestation. Can't we just have one people interested in governing the state for the interest, for the purpose of developing the state?
I keep trying to make this distinction. There is government and governance, and there is structure and politics. Fubara has government. Nobody, if you say he's being distracted, it is him that has chosen to be distracted. Nobody has stopped him from doing his job as governor. He can decide which project he wants to do, if it's within his budget, which he should have put forward. He can decide how he spends his money within this budget. Those are absolutely his own decisions to make. Nobody, there is no contest about who the governor is and what the governor can do with governance. If there is no governance, it is him who should decide. Has he left his priorities to do other things? Has he decided to do politics instead of governance? It's him to decide. The minister has not gone one day to say, don't do this project, especially once this relationship stopped being as cordial as it started. He has backed off completely. All those who continue to repeat the mantra, greed, this thing, they are just spreading falsehood and lies. This man is working in Abuja and doing a good job. He's not even, why he's doing politics, but he's doing his job in Abuja. He doesn't stop anybody doing his own where he should do. However, the leader of the structure has been Wike. You say you've toppled him, say so. But to the best of my knowledge,
the leader of the, you said it the other time. if you can hear me, just a second, Senator. When you said it the other time, you said when Mr. Nyesom Wike became governor of Rivers State, he took over a structure. You said he fought for it and he won. What is wrong with this government? This governor also saying, I want to fight for this structure and win it.
So if you want to do that, then stop saying it's Wike that is distracting you. Admit that you want to fight for structure. See, don't speak on both sides. Go straight and tell the people. Or tell the people clearly, on governance, I don't have control, so hold me accountable. But for structure, I want to fight for it. Nobody stops you from fighting for structure. But admit to the people that it is the structure you're fighting for that is distracting you from governance. Put it the other way around. Wike, recall that Amaechi left for the APC, left the PDP and went to the APC. And Wike built the PDP. Then they thought it was dead. He built it back in Rivers and handed power to Fubara by choice. Now, if Fubara wants to overthrow him, let him tell the people I'm overthrowing Wike as leader of the structure. But stop saying Wike is meddling in governance because we are misleading the people. This miseducation has been on.
Okay, so gentlemen,
have been so deceived.
We need to wrap up. So, Mr. Fubara, could you tell us then? Because yes, they try to focus on what is happening in terms of governance, but in fact, we saw the governor the other day trying to commission a road, but then there was another political statement about debt and things like that. So can you tell us then, because in less than a minute if you can, so what is it that the governor has done in 1 year?
Well, Chamberlain, thank you so much. We spent the whole time talking about structure and all whatnot, you know, whereas in the last 1 year, the governor of Rivers State hit the ground running. You know, we have seen a lot of legacy projects on the economy. We have seen the governor within the last 1 year grow the IGR from the neighborhood of 15 billion or thereabout that it was to, you know, most recent time, 27 billion. You know, we have seen the promotion and the recruitment process that went on within the civil service. In the health sector, we have seen what the commissioner, Dr. Adeze Ore, and her team are doing, revolutionizing the health sector of Rivers State. Okay, we have seen just of recent, you know, within the last 1 year, wherein the governor has set up this 4 billion naira nano loan with Bank of Industry. The funds have been disbursed to Rivers people. What is the whole essence of this? It's the people. My brother Olakawogu kept talking about structure. The structure are Rivers people. The governor is working for Rivers people, and Rivers people are behind the governor. So I think that all of this distraction by the merchants, as he called it, should be, you know, rested. They should allow the governor to focus and function instead of these distractions every day. Chamberlain, just before I go, Mark mentioned the House of Assembly, that it's under repair. Even the former governor himself, Chief Executive Wike, acknowledged that the foundation was faulty. Right. So if it's being repaired today, it's for the good of the people. Thank you so much.
I'm sure we'll see if we can make more time to see how we can focus on so much.
Please. We need to speak on what the governor has done in the last 1 year. Thank you.
In 30 seconds.
Okay. Well, my brother, let me say something. You see, sometimes people don't understand that there is politics and there is governance. And I keep making that point. And it's bad faith to allude to somebody who helps somebody to power and does not interfere in governance. Put all your problems on him. Okay. The job the governor has is between him and his people. All right, but Wike has his right to this. And if you recall, it's not about Wike. The House of Assembly has their issues with the governor. He said, I have them at my discretion.
Why would they want to impeach the governor?
The pillars of government is important.
Well, thank you for
Senator, why would they want to impeach the governor?
Olakawogu is a former chairman, Senate Committee on Environment, and I'm a Senator Bashir Fubara, diaspora coordinator of Rivers Team Movement Worldwide. Also an environmentalist, they have that in common. Also placed in the oil and gas sector. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming on today. Well, already business is going on as well. Let's not be distracted by politics. Investment talk is coming up right now.
Exactly. Thank you, Chamberlain. Thank you, Marpe and Ayo.
That's right, Chamberlain and Malkwe. It doesn't matter what politics, conversation, and structure or no structure, we must not be distracted. We must do business. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. And yes, we're doing business in just about 30 minutes. We're starting from the global space as usual, telling you that oil prices gained today with global benchmark Brent set for its first weekly increase in 3 weeks on signs of improving global demand amid stronger economic and indicators from key consumers, China and the United States. You can see right there that prices are in the green, 0.47% for Brent at $83.66 a barrel for the United States crude, which is U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude. That is also up 22 cents. That's about 0.28% at $79.45 a barrel. Looking at the drivers now, the futures are set to rise about 1%. Markets further bolstered by China's industrial output. It grew at 6.7% year-on-year in April as recovery in its manufacturing sector gathered pace, pointing to possibly stronger demand to come. Declines in oil and refined product inventories at major global trading hubs have also created optimism over oil demand growth, reversing a trend of rising stockpiles that had weighed heavily on crude oil prices. OPEC Plus is also a contributor this morning. We see that there are cuts in oil output beyond June. It's likely to see firmer prices in the medium term. Let's look at our currency at this time. Mixed bag at the close of trade on Thursday. NAFEX, it strengthened, gained 14 naira 88 kobo. That's about 2.65 to close at 1,501 naira 2 kobo throughout the trading session. While NAFEM was on the flip side at the close of trade, 533 naira 99 kobo. We know that the bulk of activities are captured on NAFEM platforms, so most of the time we see more demand in NAFEM than NAFEX, and then we record that a drop in the value of Naira. But I mean, in most cases, NAFEM captures the reality of the value of the Naira. So now we can say the Naira is still around 1,533 Naira 99 kobo after it dropped by 5.14% at the close of trade on Thursday. You must have heard the fear that there's going to be perhaps an illegal use of your pension fund. You know, that money you're depending on at retirement. Well, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, has clarified those talks. He says that the federal government's plan does not include any legal access of 20 trillion naira pension and life insurance funds. He says this himself.
I noticed that there are stories making the rounds that the federal government plans to illegally access the hard-earned savings and pension contributions of workers. Nothing could be further from the truth. The pension industry, like most of the financial industry, is highly regulated. There are rules, there are limitations about what pension money can be invested in and what it cannot be invested in. The federal government has no intention whatsoever to go beyond those limits and go outside those bounds, which are there to safeguard the pensions of workers. Now, what was announced to the Federal Executive Council, merely for noting, merely for information, no approval was sought for any action whatsoever, was that there was an ongoing initiative drawing in all the major stakeholders in the long-term savings industry, those that handle funds that are available over a long period, to see how within the rules, within the regulations and the laws, these funds could be used maximally, most effectively, to drive investment in key growth areas, infrastructure, housing, and of course, to find a way to provide Nigerians with affordable mortgages.
So, well, perhaps that clarification by the minister will calm nerves, but we'll see in the coming days. Now, it's a season of first quarter earnings, and not just in Nigeria, globally also. And the banks are in the fore of all of that because of that recapitalization conversation which is going on. One of Nigeria's premier provider of retail, commercial, and corporate banking products, Stanbic IBTC Holdings, held its 12th annual general meeting looking at the financial year, full year 2023. Let's get the details in this report.
It's the 12th annual general meeting of Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC, and once again, all interested parties have come to look at the year 2023 financial performance. Present are the chairman of the group, Mr. Basil Omiyi, Chief Executive Demola Shogule, and Shola Bora, Non-Executive Director, Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC, as well as the company's loyal shareholders.
Which also was ranked in this category.
The chairman of the group presents his address emphasizing the importance of annual general meeting.
Your board will continue to support management in navigating the challenges of the operating environment, mindful of our service promise to customers and the need to deliver sustainable long-term value to our esteemed shareholders.
Management and shareholders are unanimous in their assessment of the 2023 financial year, describing it as a successful one, with the revenue for the year under review standing at 339.71 billion. Profit before tax stands at 172.91 billion naira, while profit after tax is put at 140.62 billion naira. Dividend per share is 2.20 naira kobo. The success of Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC over the years can be attributed to a number of factors such as diversity and alignment with global best practices.
Our aim is to ensure that there is a very strong representation of gender, and ensuring that at the same time we are bringing forward our very best.
Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC is the only AAA rated financial institution in Nigeria by Fitch Ratings. I think it's something that is of delight, to the country, that a company like Stanbic IBTC is properly aligned to some of these global best practices.
Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC, which prides itself as Nigeria's leading end-to-end financial service provider, and management says to continue to infuse effective corporate governance and oversight to keep the company on track.
We will also ensure the board is evaluated, both as individual directors and also as a board, and even the committees are evaluated. It's only what you measure, that's what you can improve. That's really the basis to get a good corporate governance standard. You make sure they have the education and you measure your progress.
As one of Nigeria's economic enabler, Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC assures its shareholders that it remains focused on delivering quality service to numerous publics.
That's it, Stanbic, and we know that it is also one of those banks of interest at this recapitalization. Now, let's look ahead. On Monday, the MPC begins its meeting. That's the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. They begin their meeting for decision to be announced on Tuesday. We've seen inflation number. It's a major factor for consideration for the meeting. We saw that even though inflation is still on the rise, the rate of increase is declining. Let's see if that will change the minds of the committee by Monday and Tuesday. But before we get into that, let's find out what Dr. Josh Bamfo. Dr. Josh Bamfo is a partner and head transfer pricing and economics at Anderson. Dr. Bamfo, it's good to have you this morning. I know the other time we had you during the MPC conversation. Now we are pushing you to go into the minds of the committee, members of the committee, and tell us perhaps what you can draw out as they begin their meeting and conversations on Monday. Obviously, inflation number is top on the list of their consideration.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Clearly, inflation is going to be the number one issue that they'll try to address come Monday and Tuesday. The governor of CBN has stated clearly that they are going back to the orthodox way of, managing or administering the central bank, which means to focus on price stability. So that is clearly going to be the number one agenda. However, there's also going to be discussions about the potential adverse impact of some of the monetary policies that are being implemented in order to bring price stability. We've already seen, some professional bodies actually reach out to the CBN to discuss the, adverse impact of some of these policies on businesses. So yes, inflation rate is still high. If you look at the rate as of April, 33.69. But the good news is, as you rightly said, the rate of increase is on a decline because March figure was 33.2. So that's less than 1 percentage point. So that gives them some belief or hope that the monetary policies that they're implementing are actually starting to gain some traction. Whether that will be enough for them to halt, the monetary policy rate hikes or continue to increase it because now they are confident that it's gaining traction, that is yet to be determined. But what is going to be high on their minds is the adverse impact on the economy. We all know that 2023 ended up with a GDP growth rate of, around 2.74. And the projections for quarter one of 2024 is between 2% to 2.5%. That is not encouraging. That is around the rate at which the population is growing, which means people are getting, poorer by the day. So we need a situation whereby cost of borrowing, which is interest rates, starts going down so that businesses can borrow, start new businesses, expand, existing projects, create more job opportunities so that we can start witnessing, higher economic growth rates. So that's the dilemma that the CBN and the MPC is going to face on Monday and Tuesday. Do we continue to increase the monetary policy rate in order to bring price stability, which is our core mandate, or do we hold off a little bit because businesses are hurting with high cost of borrowing through high interest rates? So that's going to be the challenge. My view most likely will be that there might be an increase in monetary policy rate, but by a much smaller margin, maybe 100 basis points or 50 basis points. But I think it might still be important for the Central Bank of Nigeria to signal to the investment community and the business community as large that price stability is their core mandate. And until they get that under control, until it tapers off and start decreasing, we might have to make tough decisions, such as continue to increase monetary policy rate.
Well, I just want to, I want to look at this bigger picture. During the last administration of the CBN, they also kept hiking interest rates, but it didn't seem like it was reflecting on inflation or prices. I wonder what this administration is doing differently, or is it just that inflation has peaked and it is now declining?
If you look at this current administration, you look at the June numbers. As of June, inflation rate was around 22.79, and when they took over. And since then, it's gone above 30%. We are 33.69. So if you look at the administration's performance per se, that has not been that great. But the good news is that in recent times, there's been more aggressive, monetary policy tightening. You remember when we had a conversation sometime in February, they actually raised the monetary policy rate by 400 basis points from 18.75 to 22.75. That was very aggressive. So I think what has been a bit different when you look at the current CBN governor compared to the previous one is there's more intentional approach to actually bring in price stability. Because to raise the MPR by 400 basis points was significant. Remember, they also raised the cash reserve ratio from 35% to about 32.5% to about 45%. That was also significant. So I think there's a more deliberate, approach to actually bringing price stability from the current CBN governor. And that's the reason why maybe we are seeing these results. Another school of thought will be the fact that 33% is high enough. So at some point, it has to taper off and start coming down. So we need to be getting some traction. But we also have to bear in mind, there are two major policies that this current government implemented that has not helped them in terms of the fight against inflation. One being the removal of the fuel subsidy, and two being the flexibility of the exchange rate regime. So those two have been, have worsened the inflation rate situation, and that's the reason why the CBN has to do more in order to curb the rate of rising inflation rate and actually start bringing it down. What will bring good news is where we start seeing the inflation rate decreasing. Then we know that they really are gaining traction with the tight monetary policies that they implemented.
All right, Dr. Josh Bamford, this is just the beginning of the MPC conversation. You have a follow-on on Monday. Partner and head transfer pricing and economic at Anderson. Thank you so much for your views.
Thanks for having me.
You can be sure that on Monday, studios will open and we will keep having the MPC expectation conversations. And then on Tuesday at 1 p.m., the studio will open and then we'll be waiting for the announcement of the decision, which we would bring to you live, getting views and perhaps making the predictions before the committee would make that announcement of its decision. All right, now, the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation has said that it has obtained winding up orders for 96 out of 183 microfinance and primary mortgage banks whose licenses were revoked by the Central Bank of Nigeria in May 2023. The managing director of NDIC, Mr. Bello Hassan, expressed the corporation's commitment to fulfill its mandate of protecting depositors through bank supervision, failure resolution and liquidation so as to boost confidence in the financial sector. Meanwhile, it seems the microfinance banks are also gearing up to become more impactful in funding small businesses. They had their recapitalization in 2022, so they are not captured in the present one, but they are watching that space as deposit banks take their turn. Well, I had a chat with the chairman of Baobab Microfinance Bank, Mr. Rotimi Oyekomi, on this, talking about recapitalization, how to be more impactful in the small business space.
Well, we're not involved yet. We're expecting that we would also be called. And what we have done as Baobab is we've looked at what the minimum requirement was. We've looked at what it was at that time in dollar terms, and we've looked because we think that that's what the central bank has done. They're trying to make sure that the banks are strong enough for the business that they're carrying. And so what we have done is we've done very similar thing. We today have met, we actually exceed the minimum requirement today, but we know that this is coming. And so what we've done is to try to understand what it would be, whether we would need additional capital or we will not need additional capital. If we need, we're ready for it. And so if they come to us today to provide a plan, we believe we can provide a plan tomorrow because we have preempted what will happen and we're being proactive in being ready for that.
Well, from what you have described, it sounds like if we really want to boost production in the country, the first step or what we should do at this time, intervention should be in knowledge sharing and skills acquisition. And I don't know, do you see the government doing something in that area?
Let me tell you my personal view. I think we actually overrate funding as a requirement for SMEs. And the reason I think we overrate them is because there are more important challenges that face SMEs than, capital or even funding, right? One is knowledge of the industry where they're in. People go into industries without even understanding the industry itself. I've involved in businesses where you look at their conversion rate, and their conversion rate, to be frank, is so suboptimal that we can't compete. Right? So you then find, and that's why you find a few of these development agencies are seeing how you can support SMEs by giving them information. Because if you don't have information on the yield in the industry where you are in, or the technology that can make you efficient, so you can have the money, right? Even if interest rates are low, you might find that you are not producing in a way that you can be competitive. And so one of the things that we have tried to do is, apart from providing the funding, right? Because you have to provide funding at market price. If you say you want to give me a deposit, you won't take a suboptimal rate, because I want to give money to people at suboptimal rate. And also, I have to be competitive. I also have to have a sustainable business, because if I give money at a rate lower than how much I'm getting it, I'm in trouble. So what we think is that there is issue around infrastructure, there's issue around knowledge. I am convinced that number one actually is knowledge. If you have information on the industry where you operate, and you can operate efficiently, right, you'll be surprised how, and I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying interest rate is low. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, because that's what everybody has to cope with, right? However, where you have a difference is whether you can produce at an efficient level than others. I mean, you can take simple examples. Where do you plant potato? What do you call it? Tomato, right? How do you get tomato to the market, right? If you can't transport it, if you can't store it. So I'm saying the challenges are such that we need to look at the value chain and try to understand where the bottlenecks are. Because if we deal with the bottlenecks, you'll be surprised how a lot of what is produced doesn't even get to the market. And so when people say things are expensive in the market, why? It's because a lot of it is damaged or rotten, closer to the gate of where it's being produced. Then you get into, how do we transport? The roads are bad. Guess what? Our train moves people, not cargo. Everywhere in the world, train moves cargo, not people. I mean, I'm not saying they don't move people, but they move mostly cargo. So the question is, how do we get our infrastructure where we can say that our train, when I was growing up, it's train from Lagos to Kano. Moves people, moves cargo, which means that you can have groundnut in Kano. It gets to Lagos tomorrow. Today, how do you get it? By road. The roads are bad. And why are the roads bad? Because the kind of haulage that goes on the roads are supposed to be for cars. The kinds of haulage that goes on those roads. So I'm saying there are challenges. By the way, the challenges can be overcome. It's just, we just need to focus, and look at what's the area of priority. So if we do a value chain and try to understand how things go, then you can start saying, okay, what should we fix first? Is it storage? Is it rail? Some of them are not things you switch. They're things that take some time. So we have to think a lot about it. And then again, we can't do it for everything. So we have to also say the products that we think that we be competitive about, and those are the ones that we need to work on.
So in your dealing with these small businesses, what sectors or types of businesses would you say will make good business or good investment at this time in the country?
I'll probably surprise you when I say this. There's no industry that you don't have good businesses and good investments. None. At one time, I remember a long time ago, people were saying that, commercial banks are better than merchant banks, right? Funny enough, at that time, when banks failed, equal number of commercial banks and merchant banks failed. So it's not about industry. It's about you. It's about this business. How is this business operating? Is it operating at a level that it understands what's happening globally? Can it compete globally, or can it not compete globally? Part of it is technology. Part of it is also the people themselves. Are we producing at a quality level that makes us competitive? Do we understand the yields? What are the average yields globally? Are we attaining those yields? I can give you some examples. You go into a farm that does cassava, ask them the yield. And I'm not kidding. When you go around, most of the cassava farmers do not know the yield that they are operating. So if you don't know your yield, then how can you compete? So when you produce starch, how do you know that your starch is competitive? Because the yield, you don't even know your yield. So I'm saying you have those sort of things, and that's where you have to have, where you bring people together and say, let's train them, let them understand, for example, cassava manufacturers, or cassava farmers, let them understand, what the yield can be. and what it should be, so that people start looking at how they improve. And by the way, I'm not saying it's easy, but I've seen it. I've seen where people produce and they don't even know the yield. I've seen where people produce and they know the yield, and the yield is way below what's happening internationally. You can get into palm kernel, you can get into palm oil, you can get into starch. I'm saying you can get into, you just have to start producing. And you realize that the challenge that we have, I'm not saying interest rate is not. Knowledge, technique is a major part of what we need.
Well, that's it. Looks like perhaps, according to Mr. Oyekan there, the chairman of Baobab Microfinance Banks, are we looking at the wrong direction, or are we looking in the wrong direction when it comes to boosting production from small businesses? Should it be more about knowledge sharing and skills acquisition, and not just about the funds or the cost of the funds? I'll leave that to you to decide on your own. But let's do a bit of the numbers now before we head back to the Sunrise Daily Studios. We can tell you as a news item that the NGX, as Nigeria Stock Exchange, may sanction 47 companies over delayed audited reports. We saw the report there from Stanbic IBTC. There's been delay to submit theirs. That's some 47 companies, and they may be facing sanctions. I'm sure in the coming days we'll find out if that happens or not. Now, looking at the NGX, quite a surprise move yesterday. We did this intraday together yesterday, and we're at 97. Even our analysts had thought, well, we're going to end in the negative. But guess what? We did close up almost 1%. A huge move that we saw, 0.84% right there. So we're back at 98,156.71. Equities cap yesterday, the market gained 467 billion naira added. And so we're back comfortably on the 55 trillion naira now, not at the tip anymore. 55.52 trillion naira is what we close with. When we look at the activity chart, even though deals were in red, I mean, we see the value, which is the most important, 8.93 billion naira moved around the market. Volume was at 409.77 million at the close of Thursday. Straight top trades, Nigerian Breweries, UBA, Access Co. I guess investor sentiments are also being touched by some of those audited results and earnings that have been coming our way in recent times. So there you have it, the top trades for yesterday. When we look at the other markets, the fixed income and the unlisted market, the small unlisted market, that's the NESD, we see it was in the negative, talking about the volume. The value was positive, however, 52.14%. Deals dropped about 10%, and only 4 stocks traded, just like the previous day. And then the all share was in the negative yesterday. Market cap 1.7 trillion naira. Can we have the fixed income market? That's the reigning market now, where a lot of action is taking place. Unfortunately, I don't think we can accommodate now, but we do have it. We'll have it in the afternoon. Aditi Edet will be here to give you numbers of intraday in the afternoon during Business Incorporated. So do join us then. So let's head back to the Sunrise Daily Studios.
All right, so there you go. That's some feedback already from what we just talked about in terms of the politics of what is going on in Rivers State. And so you get to see those two comments from Law Alpha Cross, also trying to talk about the developments right there in Rivers State. But yes, Jeff Ojinika joins us this morning. He is right here in the studios. He's a national chairman, Coalition for Change. Good morning. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so a couple of things playing out. The House of Reps yesterday talking about this genetically modified food. So let's let you listen to this report, then we'll take it from there.
Final plenary session of the week in the House of Representatives. The Deputy Speaker presides once again. Plenary begins with communications from the President, one of which is the anti-doping bill.
The enactment of this vital legislation will also help Nigeria avoid the imposition of signatory consequences, inclusive of loss of hosting and participating at regional, continental, and world championships or major athletic events.
Matters of urgent national importance on the escalating insecurity in Kaduna State and the killing of 27 people in Zamfara State are considered and adopted.
Worried that most recent incident consumes the life of the bloodshed of Marki, Malam Kabir Mohammed, who was slaughtered and set ablaze by his killers, resulting in his instant incriminations, injuries of some of his household, and loss of the properties worth of millions of naira on Thursday, 2nd May 2024.
These continuous killings and abduction in Sapele local government demands immediate attention and actions. Lives and properties are under constant threat, and the situation is deteriorating rapidly day by day. I urge the Chief of Army Staff to constitute military barracks in Sapele local government to strengthen border defense of the areas.
The attention of the House is then drawn to the concerns around genetically modified foods, as Honorable Mukhtar Shagaya calls for an investigation.
The House resolves 2-1. Urge the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, to cause the already introduced GM foods and crops in Nigeria to be properly labeled to safeguard consumers. 3, mandate the Committee on Agricultural Production and Services to A, conduct a comprehensive investigation into the introduction of genetically modified crops in Nigeria by the National Biosafety Management Agency. B, assess the potential health and environmental risks associated with genetically modified crops and report back to the House within 4 weeks.
The House is further urging the federal government to suspend the introduction of new genetically modified crops until an investigation by the committee is completed and the findings are made public. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Oh, you're not new to this lawmaking, and so having particularly this last bit of introducing new genetically modified crops, even though last government already corn is already approved for genetically modified in this country. But about this particular one, what is your impression of this?
Well, thank you. I would like to say that the issue of genetically modified foods or organisms has constituted the world food politics. You know, that's definitely politics in everything, and it's part of the food politics. And once the government had already taken a proactive measure to set up the biosafety agency, and we also have a biotechnology agency and all whatnot. So I think the House, that agency is the agency that the House would have called up to know is exactly what they're doing, because they have the mandate. So, but calling for investigation, and the usual calling for investigation, Nigerians will worry whether is it a matter that, because the people behind some of these genetically modified are big time, players. Whether you see an indirect way of reaching out to them, before you know it, this thing will come up and the report will not come out. The most important thing is that for the safety of our people, we need to be very conscious of what our people are taking, especially both man and animals. But the major critical thing is that there will be an emergency in this country next year. From what is happening from the farmers' end, there don't seem to be much happening. In fact, we just had the first, rain that farmers can start as of last week, just a few days ago. But before then, all the preparations that used to precede the farming, nothing is in place. I don't know how people, in a country where it's difficult for people, right now, cost of fertilizer is about 30,000, 40,000 for a bag of fertilizer. So how would the farmers even farm? The cost of chemicals that used to be about 1,200, for the herbicides is now about 10,000. And it's not as the purchasing power of the farmers has increased. It has not in any way increased. So, except there's an emergency in the next few days.
But the president at the time, not long ago, declared an emergency in the agri sector. Doesn't that count for something?
I can tell you, as I'm a farmer. As a farmer right there, and I have a lot of, I do large-scale farming, and I also have small-scale farmers that also do in clusters that we monitor. There is nothing trickling down. There is nothing as of now. There is no policy, nothing even rolled out from the Ministry of Agriculture or Ministry of Water Resources as to what will happen this current farming season. I don't know whether it is when the wet season is over that they will, start something. There's definitely no program on ground. So, and
normally there used to be?
There used to be.
So
there
by
used
now,
to be, by now.
What would you be hearing?
The issue of, as I said now, farmers are going to farm. Some of the seedlings that, that especially high-yielding seedlings, the government, usually if it was in those days, maybe the CBN will help to get them in, they will help to import when they were doing the job of ministry and CBN. But now, we're expecting that some of those things, either through the Seed Council or to be able to come in. And then fertilizer, which is very important. There's no fertilizer anywhere. No farmer can afford 30,000, 40,000 to buy a bag of fertilizer that they used to buy for 5,000. If you plan, so something needs to be done, and urgently too. So for me, the House has left a more critical issue to address than somebody who is hungry, who wants to die, who is starving, will prefer to eat the GMO one than starving to death. So it is even in climes where you have something to eat that you can now start selecting, that you can be what they call a discriminating consumer. Wow. Nigerians are not at the level of discriminating consumers. It's just that we have not started, feeding from the dustbin. Outside that, Nigerians are not discriminating consumers. So it is I applaud the House for coming up. At least they are interested in the safety of Nigerians. But something should precede that. They should better sit up and see that there's an emergency in the agri sector. And we just have only very few months to go to do that.
How do you mean few months for the season?
The season is almost by October, November. This farming season for the wet season will be over. And then you now talk of we don't have a dry season farming, which we don't have a lot of facilities for. It's only people who have a source to irrigation that can do dry season farming.
Where are we in that area of irrigation so that we can have this all-season kind of farming?
In so many clients, people don't even use season again it's all the year round. Mm-hmm. And but in our own client, the access to irrigation, access to water is very low. The river basins were meant to provide all those facilities, but they are very even to get farmers to get body of water. To get, in those days, they used to supply them with a water pump. To get a water pump now, you have to pay up to 200,000.
So let me ask you, as a farmer who is in there, you're also looking to see, just like normal businesses, you have to innovate if you need to be in business. Do you, in any way, maybe your research people, or talk about hydroponics, how to ensure that you also stay in the market by probably trying something like that?
It's not the duty of the farmers to do those innovations. In fact, we have a lot of agencies. We have equipment manufacturing that the government fund, the one that is in Ilorin. They are supposed to be that will be innovating. Naseni is there. They will have so many government agencies that should have been innovating in producing the required tools for farmers to go to. They are not doing their job. And in fact, it's so pathetic that the National Assembly needs to do a very serious inward review, especially as it concerns agriculture. I challenge you, go and take the budget of Cocoa Research Institute. If you analyze the budget of the Cocoa Research Institute, you will see that over 80% of what is in the budget of the Cocoa Research Institute has nothing to do with the mandate of that research institute. And that is how our budget has been so messed up, so bastardized, that all the agencies with very clear mandates, if you see the budget, their budget is at variance with the mandates of, and it has to do with all these inclusions of constituency projects here and there and things that doesn't meet national mandates. There are things that should meet national mandates. And those are the things that should fall. By the time in 2003, 2004, when the idea of constituency project was conceived, there were 3 mandate areas that members were allowed to choose from. We had the rural water program, we had the rural health program, and we had the rural electrification program. Any program outside these 3 mandates could not qualify for constituency project. But today, if you see the budget is so distorted, inundated with things that cannot in any form meet up with national mandates. And they are there, over 70% of what you see in the budget. Almost all the parastatals and agencies. Go and look at them. You see federal medical centers, you see Ministry of Agric, you see their budget. You see the things that are there. It has nothing to do with the mandate of those ministries. And it is something very serious that calls for emergency, that the president needs to sit down and dialogue with the National Assembly.
If you were to advise or let the president know something concerning this emergency that was declared in the agri sector, what would you like him to know about what he did?
Please,
it's working.
Please, I would like Mr. President to know that the farmers of this country, if you let it put across, you call across to AFAN, all the farmers organizations. You have AFAN, you have the processors, you have all the various crop organizations or animal organizations, all the in the agri sector. None has felt any impact of the government. None. And there seems to be nothing from the parent ministry to the effect that they want something serious to be done in that sector. And that's the truth. So the president should call in fact, he should be able to invite the agri minister. Let us know what has happened in the last 1 year and what is the preparation for this. In fact, that of the rainy wet season farming is already late. It's already getting late. In fact, by now, they should be talking of what will happen during the dry season farming.
The Minister of State for Agriculture was here on the program, and he did say they're putting in place a lot of measures to ensure that farmers are up and running. Supplying seeds and grains.
In this country, I had opportunity during the Adesina. We had 2 tractors. The tractor then in the market under the GS program, the tractor that we had, the tractor we bought about 15 years ago, the tractor then was 7.4 million in the market. And then in the Ministry of Work, they will give you the tractor for 3.4. And then you go and you use it to go. Under the GS program, we had a lot that the farmers could go and do a lot to produce. And in all climes in the US, if you have a farm, and you don't want to pay tax on any land, that's why if you are going around in some places, you will see where cows are going in some, grazing. If you put cow to graze in your land, you will not pay, you will have a bonus on tax. You will not pay tax on that land.
Because
the government comes up with a lot of incentives. They do a lot, give farmers a lot of incentives to, to encourage people to, because it's not a sector that is too profitable. If you have your money today, like 50 million, and you invest 50 million in agri, you invest in health, you invest in real estate, definitely agri will be the less, because it's more like a social job to be able to make people to continue to
But it's
feed.
more impactful.
It's more impactful.
Yes,
because for you to health, somebody who is hungry can never be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no economy that can grow without the agri sector.
How do I go into farming now if you're not encouraging, if this is the scenario? It will be discourage people from coming into farming. If government is not, if you're not following the policy of government in this country.
By now, someone expected that this current government should have rolled in at least 10,000 tractors and distributed it among the states in such a way that they had agro centers where you can go and lease.
The states? Because the states have their own, they also have oversight on agriculture. I mean, we also saw what had happened in Niger State, where the state government bought tractors, I think.
Well,
about that number which you were talking about.
It's difficult to comment about so many states, because in so many states, the governors have seized both the economy of the local governments and pocketed money of local government. And nothing is happening anywhere. The farming should have been done in the rural areas. It's not in the urban cities.
Yeah, I was just about to take you up on that.
So it's difficult to really talk about her, because more than 30% of the revenue of the states go to local government. Over 45-something% goes to the states and local government. And there is not much to show for them. Not much to show for them, especially the local government. And people attribute all the insecurity, all the problems we have as a result of the high level of unemployment that we have in those areas. So it is important. But the thing is that while we talk of the president is the president of the entire country, he should stand up and declare an emergency and take a lead. It's a matter of calling the 36 governors and the FCT and locking everybody up and say, it was shameful that we could accept food from Ukraine.
Grains?
Grains. That means if a dead person donates to us, we will take. Whereas we have a lot. So there's a lot that needs to be done. In fact, I could tell you that as it is in the field as of now, I want to urge Mr. President, let him send either through his security network, either the DSS or any of the agencies of government. Let them go into the field and find out what is happening in the field. There will be so much hunger if nothing happens in the next few days. There will be so much hunger in the land because they've mopped up the grains. These grains that they have mopped up, is it not going to be replaced? Why are you going to replace it?
I find it interesting. If you can hear me, Mr. Ginika, my sincere apologies for butting in. I'd like you to, I want to go back to that question Amakwe asked you about the states. And why is it important? Not just because the federal government says it, but because the states tend to have more arable land than the federal government. On the other hand, are the areas they call ungoverned spaces. We showed an area this morning, and we've shown quite a number of places on this program in the parts of Nigeria where the land is largely uncultivated, and they are everywhere in the country, north, south, east, west, all 6 geopolitical zones. Is it that what do you think is inhibiting the states from taking these gauntlets? Because one of these states, for instance, we call the food basket of the nation. What is the challenge? The lead story of the Daily Times newspaper, Daily Trust newspaper this morning speaks to the fact that commercial farms are closing, and consequently there is a risk coming in the food space. So what exactly do you think are the challenges of the state governors from getting this done as well?
Well, I can't stand in for the states, but what I think is that they're not doing much at all. And there's a great need for them to do more because the arable lands...
They know what to do.
They should be able to, some of these places, farmers...
If you can hear me, Mr. Ginika, do you think they know what to do? Do you think they know what to do?
Yeah, some of these places that they say that farmers can no longer go, during elections, they will go there and collect results. Results will be generated from those areas. How? So it's important that even if they have to deploy the level of emergency we have now, even if they have to deploy, even using the military to go and guard the farms or to go and protect farmers, because without these farmers, we are going to perish. So it is important that as the rains have now started, let the president call an emergency meeting of the 36 state governors and the FCT with the sole purpose of what is the strategy, what is the plan for this. Let's know all that you have in place for this dry season farming. If it is necessary that some emergency situations or some drastic decisions have to be taken, it has to be taken. But as I tell you now, there is nothing on ground.
Yeah. Chamberlain asked you the other time the question around the president declaring a state of emergency. And one of the issues that we have raised over time on that matter is unless there's collaboration between the federal government and the state governments on that issue of emergency in the agricultural sector that the president talked about, we may really not have anything. Do you think that kind of conversation happened at all?
Well, that kind of conversation, it will not just be a one-up thing. It has to be continuous because everything in our economy, both health, everything revolves around the agricultural sector. Everything. If you don't eat well, you will not be healthy. And our economy, in creating jobs, what they are calling now creating jobs of sending 50,000 to people is not creation of jobs. It's not adding any value to the economy. It's not making cotton farmers to grow more cotton. It's not making food processors to process more. So it is important that this issue of agri be taken serious. I want in the next few days for the president, I want to urge the president to, as a matter of urgency, do an emergency meeting whereby all the major stakeholders, in fact, it will be important that the major stakeholders be there. Because when you call them now,
my apologies.
Ministry, they will call you and tell
while there is value in the president making this call, just as you have said, it's sounding like you're saying that the governors don't know what to do, and unless the president says something, they will not be able to do anything. The people live in the states. So if it sounds to me like what you're saying is that the governors don't know what to do, and unless the president speaks to them, they will not know what to do. Is that what you're saying?
The president should take a lead. He's the leader of the country. He's the president of the 774 local governments.
But the states are autonomous, Mr. Ginika. So the states are autonomous.
Yes, they're autonomous, but he's still the president of the entire country. And the economic, he has as the leader of the country, he has a duty to ensure that he gives policy directions that are... So, and the way it is today, majority of the governors are in the same political alignment with the president. So it's a lot easier. So what I want to say is that he is the president of the country. If there's food scarcity in the country, there's food scarcity in Nigeria. You will not say that there's food scarcity in Cross River or food scarcity. They're all part of the country. So it is important that this issue be taken so seriously. It's a national emergency. It's just the same way as when you have any pandemic.
Okay, so just one more thing, because this looming food shortage, I mean, I think it's to be forewarned, it's to be forearmed. So just one more thing before we go. The story that the CBN seems to have gotten an advantage from the courts in terms of getting the social media handles of customers, is it of any consequence to you? What do you think of it?
I think that policy for me is in the right direction. and the courts haven't affirmed it, the banks should be able to go ahead and implement that. And I say this from point of view of the level of fraud we have in our banking sector. And it's important right now that the information, everybody is available to the bank. And if you want to apply for visas today, be it US visa, be it UK, they expect you to fill in all those information. If you're on Facebook, if you're on any of the handles, they will expect you to fill them. And because it gives them a background check, they want to know whether this person, they'll go to your background and check the kind of things you post, the kind of, this kind of person, is it the person that should be, so all those background checks, they are very important, especially for financial institutions like that. I want to salute the courage of Justice Dimba for that judgment. I think it's in the right direction. It's not one of those things that somebody can say is prying into the privacy of people, because those information, the banks need them.
All right.
To do what? What do you need them?
Well, you need them to get the full identity of your customer.
Let's know who is you, so you don't. But I know that we make reactions definitely on this kind of matters. But so far, that's what the court has ruled. So we'll see what happens. So Jeff Ojeniga is National Chairman, Coalition for Change, and above all, don't forget, he's a farmer. And so the messages that have come through, we need to pay attention. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so there you go. That wraps it up today, Friday. I call it Good Friday. Okay.
There's only one Good Friday.
Yeah, well, so
GIF.
It's up to you to just make of this Friday what you will. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain Osov. Goodbye.
And I hope you've also been inspired to become a farmer as well. Doesn't matter what else you do. Thank you for watching. I'm Mo Falcon, Yusuf. Some people think you have to go big scale first.
Well, yeah, especially when now you can do urban farming. Find out what that means. I'm Aya Makinde. Do have a wonderful weekend.